Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, we are going to talk about something we all think we understand, fairness. It feels so simple, right? It's a standard we demand from the world. But what if our entire idea of fairness is actually a paradox? A deep, fundamental conflict that shapes everything, from a kid's argument in a schoolyard all the way up to our most advanced technology. So let's dive into this paradox, starting with the three little words that kick the whole thing off.
You know the phrase. You've heard it, you've probably screamed it. I know I have. This cry is one of the very first moral judgments we ever learn to make. It comes from this deep primal place, this instinct that the world should make sense, that things should be just. But what happens when that simple, powerful demand crashes headfirst into our very complex reality? You see, that powerful feeling isn't just some childish tantrum. It's a fundamental human drive we all share. So let's take a closer look at the psychological roots of what we can call the fairness instinct. And when I say it's a drive, I mean, for a lot of us, it's way more than just a preference. It can be a full-blown obsession. I was looking through a Reddit thread on this, and one person with ADHD described having an intense obsession with fairness. Someone else commented, "When things are unfair, I have a really hard time letting things go." This isn't just a mild feeling. For many, it's this powerful, almost compulsive force that shapes how we see the world. But here's where it gets really complicated. This deep-seated drive isn't simple at all. It's actually pulling us in two totally different directions at once. And this creates the central conflict of our whole discussion today, the two competing faces of fairness. Okay, so on one side, you have rule-based fairness. The idea here is simple. Treat everyone exactly the same. No exceptions, the rules are the rules, period. But on the other side, you have contextual fairness. This is all about acknowledging individual circumstances, someone's history, their intentions, the why behind what happened. And you can probably already feel the tension between these two ideas, can't you? And this is the really crucial point. This isn't just some abstract philosophical debate. This paradox, this clash between rigid rules and flexible context, has enormous real-world consequences. It creates situations where the very attempt to be fair can lead to something profoundly unjust. So let's look at what happens when these systems get it wrong. When all those good intentions, caught in the crossfire between rules and context, go terribly, terribly wrong out in the real world. Let's start with a story from a schoolyard. I want you to meet George. He's a fifth grader, a good kid, a student leader who has never once been in trouble. But one day, a jealous classmate secretly slips a pocket knife into his backpack. George has absolutely no idea it's there. Later on, his teacher discovers it while he's looking for a book. Now, here's the problem. The school has a zero-tolerance policy. This is rule-based fairness in its absolute purest form. The rule is simple. Possession of a weapon equals expulsion. The context, the fact that George had no clue it was there, that he had zero intent to cause harm, that he was literally framed, all of that is completely irrelevant. The rule is absolute. So let me ask you, is that fair? This isn't just some made-up story. A U.S. circuit judge commenting on a very similar real-life case said something that just hits the nail on the head. He wrote that the student, his family, and common sense itself were all victims of good intentions run amok. Just think about that for a second. The system designed to keep everyone safe and be fair to all ended up punishing a completely innocent person. Okay, so that's one student, one backpack, one school. Now let's zoom out. Let's take this exact same paradox and scale it up, way, way up, to the massive and complex world of artificial intelligence. This brings us to the concept of AI bias. At its core, it's what happens when an AI system makes systematic errors that lead to unfair outcomes. But here's the key. The AI learns these biases from us. It's trained on these gigantic sets of human-generated data, and that data is filled with all of our own messy, flawed, and hidden prejudices. And this creates a really incredible paradox. AI is built on pure logic and rules. It's designed to be the ultimate objective decision-maker. And yet, because it can't understand human context, it often ends up taking our worst biases and just amplifying them. We see this in things like hiring algorithms that favor male applicants, lending systems that discriminate against minorities, and even flawed criminal justice models. The rule-based system, once again, creates a deep, contextual unfairness. So we've seen how systems can be unfair, from schools to AI. But now we're going to pivot a little and ask a much more uncomfortable question. What if we're all falling into a personal fairness trap? What if the problem isn't just the systems? What if the problem is us? No, I'm serious. Take a second and ask yourself, what if our intense, obsessive drive for everything to be fair is actually part of the problem? There's this great quote by a psychologist, Dr. Mitch Ablett, who says that our personal sense of fairness is often just a rigid story we tell ourselves. And that story isn't based on objective truth, not at all. It's shaped by our expectations and, most importantly, by constantly comparing our own situation to others. And this fixation on fairness has real costs. It creates unnecessary conflict in our relationships. It leads to all this emotional clutter and indignation. And, ironically, it can actually make us less happy and less satisfied with our own lives. That constant search for perfect fairness can become a real trap. And what's at the very heart of this trap? Comparison. Constantly measuring our lives, our successes, our struggles against the highlight reel of everyone else's life. It just fuels this illusion of what we think we deserve. And like that famous quote, often attributed to Teddy Roosevelt, says, comparison truly is the thief of joy. So if our systems are flawed and our personal obsession is a trap, where does that leave us? Well, it's time to explore a final and pretty radical idea. What if unfairness is sometimes fair? This quote from the investor Charlie Munger is designed to be provocative. He argues that sometimes the only way to get to a more just system overall is to tolerate outcomes that feel unfair to certain individuals. It completely turns our normal understanding of fairness on its head. Munger's most famous example comes from the Navy. When a captain's ship runs aground, their career is over, period. It doesn't matter if it was a freak storm or a mechanical failure completely out of their control. Now, to that one single captain, this is profoundly, deeply unfair. But, Munger argues, that brutal, rule-based outcome creates a greater justice for everybody. Why? Because it ensures that every other captain will do absolutely everything in their power to keep their ship safe, which in turn protects thousands of lives. What Munger's model really forces us to accept is that fairness isn't some simple, achievable goal. It's not a finish line we can cross. It's a constant, incredibly difficult negotiation of trade-offs, a balancing act between the individual and the system, between rigid rules and messy, complicated context. It's wild to think about where we started. We began with that simple, instinctual cry from childhood, "That's not fair," and we've journeyed all the way to a reality that is anything but simple. And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. If perfect, absolute fairness is just an illusion, a paradox we can never truly solve, then what should we be fighting for instead? Thanks for watching my video. If you liked it and learned something from it and you want to share your own opinion or your experience, you can comment down below. I would love to see your thoughts and experiences. Subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell to get notified when I upload more videos like that. Have a good day. Bye.